Welcome into the official Jets podcast.
I eat, breathe, and sleep the New York Jets, my team.
That is a tightrope walk across Niagara Falls. That's hard to do.
It's a game of inches, so finding that one little inch to be successful, it all matters.
The official Jets podcast is presented by Kendra Scott, the jewelry company that's shining bright and doing good. Shop game day ready jewelry styles and so much more at kendrascott.com.
Hey, G, have you been enjoying the sun down here in Florida?
This has been a really good event. Just being able to meet new coaches, meet older coaches, guys that I've always had a conversation with, even the GMs. So it's been a really good experience.
Can you talk about walking around here and seeing some of the guys who've had major influences on you throughout your career?
Absolutely. I mean, you get a chance to see Andy Reid, and I mean he's so-called the GOAT right now of the NFL. Get a chance to see some of my old coaches, Todd Bowles, which is crazy because he was my position coach, and now being a head coach, and I'm a head coach in this sorority now. And man, just all the Mike Tomlin and all those guys, man, it's been a whirlwind. But getting a chance to just sit by those guys and listen, they're just regular guys. You can just talk football. You can just talk about anything. It's been pretty outstanding to me.
TB actually was your position coach both with the Jets and with the Cowboys, right?
Yes, it's crazy. And
it really is. Now, how has this offseason been completely unique? Because I don't know if a lot of people know about what you typically have done in the offseason as far as your individual study to get you prepared for this point.
Yeah, you listen, I would say this, about eight to 9 years ago, I've actually been trying to think about switching actually from the defensive side to the offensive side. So what I did, knowing I couldn't do that, but what I did was I went out and I visited a lot of coaches on the offensive side and just talk offensive football. And I would say that it prepared me to actually be a coach of the football team and not just a coach of defense. So sometimes when guys call me a defensive coach, I don't like that because I am a coach and I coach offense, defense, and special teams. And I spend time make sure I study and build my craft as far as being pretty good at that. So it's been a good ride, I would say that, for these last 8 years to prepare me to be in this position. I would say this also.
Yeah.
Coach Sean Payton and Dan Campbell did a really good job of putting me in positions to make decisions to help me be in the spot right now, too. So I give those guys a lot of credit.
Yeah, you quickly correct everybody when they say, hey, you got a defensive background. You said, I'm a coach.
Yeah.
Yeah. It used to be on the defensive side of the ball, but I'm a coach.
Absolutely. And listen, that's one thing I want to be known for is, listen, my offensive acumen is just as good as my defensive acumen and special teams also. I think all three parts is what you need to be able to win a game. And I did everything I could to be able to learn and get really, really good at understanding all three phases. So, and I think that's what a head coach is supposed to do. No matter what, when the game goes on, offense, defense, and special team, that's on me. And I accept that responsibility. So I don't want to be one of these guys where the defense is playing good. Okay, the good defensive head coach, the offense playing right, not good. And, okay, that's not his responsibility. Yes, it is my responsibility. So I want to make sure that all three phases of the game has my fingerprint on it.
Can you talk about growing up in Bordersville, Texas, right outside Houston, and how that upbringing helped you prepare for your trajectory, not only in a professional realm, but also as a man?
Absolutely. Now, listen, that was a tough place to grow and tough place to come out of. I don't know if I was the first, but I know I was one of the only ones that actually graduated out of high school, out of that neighborhood, and actually ended up going to college and getting a degree. And I know for a fact making it to the NFL. So, listen, this shaped me as a man. Listen, I would not have wanted it any other way, right? Because there are some things that I've learned quickly as a young man on how to defend myself.
Yeah.
And then also how to create relationships with multiple people from different backgrounds. And I think that's the one thing that helped me more than anything. That, listen, any kid that comes to the NFL right now that's coming on my team, listen, I can relate to you. I don't care if you're a guy that you came from the slums, if you're a guy that was middle of the road, or you guys that was born from a billionaire. It doesn't matter. I can speak the language of any of those guys. And I've been fortunate to be able to address all three, if you look at it that way.
Yeah. How would you describe being one of 11 brothers and sisters?
A football team.
Yeah?
That's exactly what it is. And Listen, my whole family was pretty athletic, from my sisters to my brother. Obviously, you guys know I had a brother that played in the NFL for 8 years,
Jason
9
Glenn?
years. And just understanding that just how you operate together as a family really looks like a football team, because you have to be on the same page. Everything has to be in order, which my dad made sure that was happening. Things in order. And it made you appreciate people just in general. And listen, my family's the same. You know, I have 3 kids. I've been married for 28 years. And we look at things the same way. You know, things have to be in order, how we operate. And listen, we got each other's back. The same thing with my family. You can't say anything bad about either one of us now, 'cause we'll jump into that.
What do you think your dad would think right now at this moment that you are in this situation?
Listen, if it's one thing that I wish could have happened in my lifetime, my dad see me as a head coach.
Yeah.
And listen, he's experienced a lot of good things within my life. As far as making it to the NFL, he was with me at the draft. He was with me when I made my first Pro Bowl. Man, he was with me as I got into being a defensive back coach. And he didn't get a chance to be a coordinator, which I wish he would have. And then being a head coach, man, that'd have been the ultimate for him, because listen, he is proud of his kids.
Yeah.
And anything that we did, he was the one that was holding the flag for us, knowing that he was behind us. Listen, everything that I got is from him. I know that for a fact, because he is a man of hard work. And I said this before, my mom never worked, and he was the one that supported 11 kids.
Yeah.
So, man, he's an outstanding man, and everything I got is from him.
AG, do you take some lessons from him in terms of how you deal with your players now? Because it's interesting. You said it before. This is a different generation now,
Yes.
and you have to adapt to them.
Yes. Listen, when you have 11 kids, you have to be able to manage personalities. And I'm talking about 6 sisters, 5 brothers. So that's a lot of different personalities that you have to, I'm just talking about kids in general, that you have to be able to manage. And just being able to watch that and see how he was able to do it was outstanding for me, because it actually taught me a lesson of everybody's different. And you can't talk to everybody the same. Some people needs more of a hug. Some people needs more demanding in being on them. And it actually taught me that. I just sit there and watched him do that, and the way he raised us as a family. I don't know if there's anybody better.
Yeah.
And you're right. It actually taught me how to just deal with different type of personalities and be able to look at each one as there's somebody different, and you have to treat them different.
The Official Jets podcast is presented by Kendra Scott, the jewelry company that's shining bright and doing good. Shop game day ready jewelry styles and so much more at kendrascott.com.
Can you speak about having no excuses? Because I think if any coach would have a reason to feel bad for himself, would have been you last year, when you guys were a walking machine on that defensive side of the ball, but you guys just kept on going.
Listen, this league is not going to stop for anybody. And to me, that is the good thing about this league, and it's the good thing about being a coach, because you get a chance, no matter what the situation is, get to display how good of a coach you are, just by situations like that. We had, 11 guys. I think we had 3 guys that was actually our true starters, or actually that played. But you know what? Who cares? Who cares? And as a coach, I look forward to those situations. I look forward to those moments to go out and show not just me who I am as a coach, but the players that's probably not the top of the line players get a chance to go out there and play. And the one thing that we championed is, listen, it's not about the playbook, it's the play style. And our guys understood that. And they went out there and played a style that, listen, no one else in the league could play but us. And that's just who we are. And I plan on bringing that style here to the Jets also.
Well, the one thing you made clear today was that, hey, you guys can ask me about scheme all you want, but I'm going to look at who I have here, and then we're going to align the scheme with the players in the building.
Absolutely. And I think that's the best coaches do that.
Yeah.
And I've heard Andy Reid talk. I've heard Mike Tomlin talk. Listen, I've heard Pete Carroll talk. And those are some of the things that they talk about. Everyone has a scheme, and that's great. But when you start to mix and match players within your scheme, now you have to build your scheme to who you have. Andy Reid is one of the better ones in the world. He was throwing the ball all over the field when he had Tyreek Hill and all those guys. A ton of explosive plays. And then he ends up getting Pacheco. I mean, he's a downhill, tough, run the ball in between the tackles type of coach now, you know. So I want to be that way. I want to be a coach that makes sure that I can adjust to whoever I have. And I'm going to do everything I can to make sure I do that.
Can you speak to something that you talked about earlier, moving in silence this offseason, the New York Jets?
Listen, in the offseason, everybody's a champ. Everybody's going to the Super Bowl. All right. But when the season starts, that really tells you who you are. So I tell our guys, listen, we don't have to talk. We don't have to say anything. The only thing we need to do is to get the work in. And as the season progresses, as the season comes around, then our talking comes about how we play. And then we don't have to move in silence anymore. All right. Then everything that we're doing, right, is going to speak for itself. And that speaks volumes to me. And that's how loud you speak by what your record said and how you play. And we're doing all this right now to make sure we get to that.
You're the voice leading this thing, but how important from a player perspective was to get 2 quarterbacks done in free agency where you guys go and target Justin Fields and sign him, and then on the defensive side of the ball, make sure Jamie Sherwood isn't going anywhere?
A couple of things on that. First off, I think Mooch did an outstanding job of and his staff of making sure that they understood exactly what I want as a coach and how I want us to start to maneuver with this new era of Jets football. And to be able to get Justin was huge for us because I believe in that man. And I think he's ready to break out to be a quarterback. And we're going to allow him to play quarterback and be able to utilize his legs. And then getting Sherwood back. Here's the one thing I want to make sure we do as a Jets organization. The guys that we draft, we do a lot of study on those guys. So we know those guys. So we want to keep those guys back in-house. The best form of free agency is signing your own players, and we want to make sure that we're that type of team. So getting the quarterback on the offense, getting the quarterback on the defense was huge for us. And now we can start to put other pieces around those guys to make sure we're a top-notch team.
When you envision Justin and you say he'll have an opportunity to break out as a quarterback, what do you mean by that?
You know what? And this is just me watching from afar.
Sure.
And I played against him when he was in Chicago. We played against him twice a year. I think there were so many people talking about his legs. And when you go watch him at Ohio State, and I watched every game at Ohio State, and, man, he was back there letting it rip now. And he was making plays. I mean, you look at Garrett's numbers when he was at Ohio State. You look at those other receivers' numbers when he was at Ohio State. You look at the running back numbers when he was at Ohio State. Why can he do that?
Yeah.
I mean, listen, I know that he is a dynamic runner. But he's been a dynamic passer when he was in college, too. So I'm going to let him go out there and do that and use his legs, too.
Yeah, of course, going to put a lot of pressure on opposing defenses. I mean, that guy's a dual threat.
No doubt he is.
He's averaged more than 50 yards per game on the ground throughout his career. I wanted to ask you about Brandon Stevens.
Yeah.
You said some interesting things about that's what we're looking for in terms of physical traits. I don't want to pick a fight with you because you take me out right here, but man, you played on the outside, and you're talking about. I like having big guys on the outside.
Listen, this game, I really understand how this game has changed over the years, and to be disruptive on the edges, and to be able to be, you have 2 corners, man, that were well over 6 foot. They both have long arms. And they can run, and to not let receivers just get into the teeth of your defense is critical to the success of how we want to play. We want to be a tough-minded, physical, violent defense. To be able to put pressure on the offense to where, man, your receivers are not just going to be able to get upfield. Man, you want those type of corners that's out there, and that's what I just believe in. Listen, I know Brandon. I know his weaknesses. I know, but the thing is, my job as a coach and the staff is to work on their weaknesses and make sure their weaknesses become a strength of theirs. And I know what those are, and I'm going to make sure I do everything I can to help that player.
You had 41 interceptions throughout your career. You know how to take the football away. How do you teach it to guys maybe like Sauce, who is a very talented guy?
Yeah.
And obviously, you're going to use him different than past coaching staffs have, and then also Stevens as well.
Yeah, here's the one thing I know I want to utilize those guys. I want those guys to play man coverage because they're pretty damn good at it. Yeah. But there's also situations where they have to be able to see the quarterback, and they have to be able to anticipate and be able to make jumps and balls to go make those plays. So I want to be able to give those guys that. And there's other ways to take the ball away also. I mean, we're going to be a team that's going to be after the ball no matter what. Every play, if you're not after the ball, you're not going to fit in on this team because there's going to be so many people that's going to buy into that method. If you look at the defense over the years that I've had, I mean, that's one thing that we did a really good job at is punching the ball out. So not just interceptions, but being able to punch the ball out and getting population to the ball is critical to us playing really good defense. Maximum effort is one of the things that we're gonna chant, and the only way you can get the ball back is playing with maximum effort, and that's getting everybody to the ball.
Speaking about taking the ball away, do you like the history that you've seen from Cisco? And he's coming home.
Absolutely.
Interesting story. He grew up, he was born in Queens, grew up in Valley Stream.
No doubt. Listen, there's a lot of different stories. Even my story, his story. Man, it's a reason why this team was built the way it's built right now, and everything is coming full circle, to be honest with you. And you're right. He's a guy that's going to help Cisco as far as taking the ball away. And he's been a guy that's caught, I don't know, like 8 or 9 interceptions while he's been in this league. So, listen, I'm looking forward to how this secondary is going to play. These guys are big, they're physical, they're intimidating, and that's exactly what we want to bring to this game.
You've been gracious with your time.
No doubt.
I got 2 quick ones.
Oh, good.
Youth movement.
Yeah.
Is that something that you and Mooj talked about from the get-go? You have 5 players on this roster who are 30 or north.
Yeah. Here's the and again, Mooj did a great job of understanding exactly how I want this team to look. Now, obviously, we got the quarterback on both sides, and then what we wanted to do is make sure we rebuild our secondary. And then the next thing was, is to get younger as a team. And right now, I think we might be one of the top 10 as far as the youngest team in the league, and that was by design. I'm a huge component of knowing this is a young man's game. I'm a huge component that understand that, listen, you have to play the young player and understand it's our job to mold, teach, and get those guys to understand exactly how we try to operate. And there's nothing better than that than having youth on the field, because they're going to sit there and listen to you and soak up everything you say. Not saying the veterans won't.
Yeah.
All right. But when you have those guys, you can mold them how you want them as a team.
Final one. I'm not going to ask you who you're going to take number 7. All options on the table, right? After working on some depth in free agency, get some frontline guys in here. One thing that struck me, and coming full circle, is that you said, number 1 in my coaches, you got to be able to teach. Yeah. Then number 2, you got to be able to develop.
Absolutely.
Can you elaborate on that?
Listen, as a coach, there's nothing better in this league than, number 1, be able to make a complex game very simple. And that's the teaching aspect of it. And then number 2, if we end up getting a free agent, can you make that free agent operate like a draft pick? Can you make that 6th or 7th rounder operate like a 3rd rounder? Can you make that 3rd rounder operate like a 1st rounder? And can you make that 1st rounder like a gold jacket at some time? And that's really the crux of who we are as coaches, is developing and making these guys play above their draft status, above who they thought they could play at. Because that's when you get the trust of the players. And when you get the trust of the players, you get the trust of the team. And that they will follow you no matter what the situation is. They'll be behind you 100% because they know that they'll get better. And to me, that's what you are as a coach.
AG, enjoyed it, man. I can't wait to speak to you again.
Man, I appreciate it, buddy. I do. Looking forward to this.